And good evening, and welcome to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, live right at Grossmont Center, along with Coach Rocky Long. John Quintero with you the first hour, and then I'll get into my regular talk show from 8 to 9 tonight. And, of course, I want to tell you a little bit about Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. It's the official sponsor each and every Wednesday night of the Rocky Long Show. Hooley's is home of the famous corned beef tacos, award-winning menu items. And on Wednesdays, of course, every Wednesday the rest of the way now, Coach Long will be right here at Hooley's in Grossmont Center, and we get going. A big ball game for the Aztecs coming up this Saturday night at Qualcomm Stadium. They've got Fresno State 6-0, 3-0 in the Mountain West Conference. They're ranked 17th in the initial BCS standings, ranked 15th in the AP poll, 18th in the USA Today coaches poll. They come in to take on the Aztecs as the Aztecs enter play Saturday night at 3-3, 2-0 in Mountain West Conference play. The Aztecs bring in a 3-game winning streak. And Coach Rocky Long joins me here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. And Coach, I take a look at this week off, probably a good time because the team you're going against right now knows how to put points up, and they know how to put points up in a hurry.
Well, it was a good week to have off because we played basically 3 games in 2 short weeks back-to-back. And that's hard on a team physically. So they got some time off last week. Maybe a little, actually we only have maybe a little extra time getting ready for Fresno. We know what they do. They're really good. The problem is trying to figure out something to slow them down. And I think the only way to slow them down is to keep them on the bench. So hopefully our offense can stay out there and get some first downs and run the clock a little bit. They're averaging, I think, 89 plays a game or something like that. They're third in the country for number of plays in a game, and they try to go fast pace and everything. And as the football fans out there in the audience that watch the Chargers, that's been kind of their MO the last couple of weeks. If you keep the other team's offense on the bench, you can play pretty good defense.
Well, I guess the negative, Fresno State coming into the ball game averaging 47.4 points per game. That's 5th in the country. They're putting up 538 total yards per game, 7th in the country. 4th in the nation in passing, 374 yards a game, 164 yards rushing, which places them 71st. But on the positive, they're giving up a ton of points themselves. They're giving up over 33 points a ball game right now.
Well, they're giving up some points. Some of that is they've been scoring so fast, their defense is out there a lot. But they're giving up some points, and some people have had some shootouts with them. They beat Boise State 41-40. They went to Hawaii, and if you watch the actual film, it's not like it was a close game the whole time. I don't know exactly what happened because Fresno was running up and down the field and was way ahead, and then Hawaii made a unbelievable comeback and made it close. But they're moving the ball on everybody, but they have given up some yards and some points.
We'll get back to talking about Fresno State and some of their real key offensive weapons. Let's talk about the Aztecs. Let's go back to that Air Force game. You had to be gnashing your teeth for the most part the first 3 quarters. Even though you guys were moving the ball, you couldn't really put it in the end zone. You had all kinds of problems on field goals, extra points, and, boy, you guys found a way to get it done. And it really seemed like all of a sudden you flipped the switch, and all of a sudden the guys were just playing out of their mind. And as a coach, I know you're saying, where was that the first 3 quarters? Why keep us on pins and needles all night?
Yeah, I don't we've talked about this some before. I don't know what our team has a personality is such that we don't play well in long stretches of time. We play well in short stretches of time, and we can't do that this week, or we'll be out of the game early. But what we do have is we don't give up, and we keep playing hard. We don't always play well, but we keep playing hard. And as long as you keep playing hard, you always have a chance to win. And I agree with you that our last 3 games, though we have won, which is the most important thing. The last 3 weeks or the last 3 games, we are 3-0 in the last 3 games. We're 2-0 in the Mountain West Conference. And so some of the games have been, it depends on your attitude about them. They're very, very exciting football games, or they're very, very frustrating football games, depending on what your attitude is. If I was just sitting at home as a spectator and watching those games, I would say, boy, those are some exciting games. Isn't it fun to watch this? But when you're a coach on the sideline, it's very frustrating to watch the game because we don't play very well, and then all of a sudden we play well enough to win. Or at Reno we played really, really well, and then all of a sudden we go into a dive and they catch up, and then we play really well in the overtime and we win. And then at Air Force, actually we moved the ball really well at Air Force, but we couldn't score any points. And like you mentioned, we couldn't make field goals, we couldn't make extra points. We were terrible at that, but we moved the ball but couldn't score points. And on defense, we actually played pretty well most of the night. But because our offense wasn't scoring points, it looked like we were going to lose the game. And then in the fourth quarter, we played just as well on defense as we did most of the night, and all of a sudden our offense started clicking, and we scored quickly and often, and we won the game.
DJ Pumphrey, we saw him early a little bit. He'd get a carry here, a carry there. Now he's really come on and become quite a star in a short period of time for the Aztecs. Adam Moema ran the ball very well against Air Force. It looks like he's completely healthy now and running with, I think, a little bit of a new spirit. But when you guys recruited Pumphrey, did you think he would come in and play at all this year? Did you think about redshirting him? Because you did have Chase Price backing up Moema, who, when Chase got an opportunity last year, did a nice job in the role he had.
Yeah, you have to understand, and you do, but a lot of people don't understand in athletics, sometimes when you get injured, it's the worst thing that could ever happen to you because someone gets a chance to prove that they can play. And what happened was Adam Moema was our starting running back, still is our starting running back, and Chase Price was the backup. So we did not anticipate playing DJ Pumphrey very much. Even though in practice he'd done a great job returning punts, returning kickoffs, and showed a real quickness and speed in practice, but we weren't anticipating playing him much. And then Chase Price gets hurts his shoulder, which is unfortunate, and DJ Pumphrey gets his chance. And all of a sudden he has the ability to play as a freshman that you don't ever anticipate as a freshman him playing. He goes out there and plays really, really well. And now what we have, and hopefully we have for the rest of the year, is we have Adam Moema, who's a very good running back in his own right, but has a different style. And we have DJ Pumphrey that is a really good running back in his own right and has a completely different style from Adam. And it's kind of like what we had last year. Adam Moema and Walter Casey complemented each other unbelievable because they were both pretty good running backs and they had different styles. Well, now we have Moema and we have Pumphrey that are both really good running backs, but they have different styles and they complement each other. And if the offensive line will block well and they stay healthy, that will give us a chance to win some more games.
And Chase Price has been cleared. He could be a participant on Saturday night?
Yeah, he's been cleared to play in the game, and he's practiced all week, and he's gotten some reps with the ones and the twos. We think he's got some ability too. So I don't know how many, Coach Toledo and I differ on this because he's offense and I'm defense, but we both realize you have to run the ball in order to be successful, and especially against who we're playing. But I'd like to run the ball about 80 times and keep them sitting on the bench. I don't think that's going to happen, but if we're able to run the ball, more running backs can play. But if you're not able to run the ball, then the carries aren't there, and so you don't use 3 running backs. 2 is probably as many as you'll use.
Let's talk a little bit about it because, I'm sitting at home and I watched all those good teams you had over there at New Mexico, and I know what you like to do defensively. And in my opinion, you guys were throwing a little bit too much early in the year. I know San Diego State football was born and bred on throwing the ball, but a lot of times, that doesn't work to maybe the strengths of the players that you have or the players that have been recruited. And watching the last 3 games, to me, this is becoming more of a Rocky Long style football team, a team that I think you probably want. And I know you want balance, you strive for balance, every team does, but you guys are tending to want to run the ball a little bit more. And it looks like by doing that, your offensive line is starting to get better.
Well, I think they are, and I agree with you. I think early in the season, because Adam Moema wasn't running at full speed and didn't look like his old self, and our offensive line was struggling blocking for the run, we didn't run the ball very well, so we had to throw it. And then we got behind in some games, so we had to throw it to try to catch up. And the last 3 games, we've been right in games. And as long as we're right in games and it's close enough for us to win at the end, I think what the balance you've seen in the running and passing game over the last 3 years is what 3 games is what we'd really like to be. We'd like to run it and throw it, but balanced.
I talked with Coach Toledo. It was great to have him on the air last night. He's always a fun guy to visit with, and we're kind of talking about the development of Quinn Kaler, and he goes, he may not have the strongest arm, but says this guy's really smart and really picks things up, and obviously he's one of those guys when he looks at tape, he's able to process what he's seeing. Some guys watch tape and, it's paralysis by analysis, and they almost get worse, or, are my feet right, or I have the ball in the right position. But it sounds like Quinn can break down not only what he's doing, but what the defense is doing, what kind of looks they're given. And Coach Toledo seemed to be pretty high on his development in a short period of time.
I think he's exceeded what we expected. I think what is said is he is very, very smart. We don't have bad plays with him in there. He gets the protection called the right way so that if we block well, everything's picked up. Now, obviously, you can get beat one-on-one, or physically you can get beat, but he always gets the protection the right way. If we have a dual call in the running game, he always gets the right running play called by the way the defense is set up, and it gives you a lot better chance to be successful that way. And then he's very accurate with the football. Now, he doesn't have a real strong arm, but when he throws it to a guy, it's pretty much on the money.
Where are you at with your kickers right now? Because, it's almost like a little bit of a flip of the coin right now.
It's still a flip of the coin, but see, now we're going to start talking about old school. Most people treat kickers differently than everybody else on the team. We never treat the kickers any differently. They're football players in our minds. So when they don't perform well, they compete with the backup. Okay? Well, our kickers haven't performed very well, so what we have is a competition between the 2 kickers that we have for field goals. Our punter's doing a nice job. Seamus McMorrow's doing a nice job kicking off, but Westpher and Seamus have not done a good job of kicking extra points and field goals. Most of the time at every other position, if someone's not playing well, you have a head-to-head competition with his backup, and sometimes they split time, but you have a head-to-head competition with the backup and make them compete and make them decide who's the best. Okay, so that's what we've been having for a week and a half. We kick after practice. We had a little incentive because I think kickers have to be able to perform under pressure in a one-shot moment. So we come after practice and we kick field goals. And if they miss a field goal, the whole team runs. They get to watch the whole team run. And then the whole team gets to watch them run. So we started out last week where we kicked, I think each one of them kicked 6 or 7. And we kept track of the misses. And then we kind of went inching down until yesterday we kicked 1. Okay, and one of them made it, and one of them missed it, so the whole team ran, and so did they. And then tomorrow we'll do the exact same thing. And if the same guy makes it that made it yesterday, he'll be the kicker for Saturday.
So you're trying to competition within the ranks, going back and forth, and I think with kickers, and I don't know if I know you got a special teams coach, but I don't know if you particularly have a kicking coach. It's so much mental. It's like a hitter in baseball. It's so mental. You miss one, all of a sudden you try to overcompensate, and a lot of times you go from bad to worse.
It's exactly that. It's fundamentally. You have to be fundamentally sound just like every other position, okay? But for some reason, kickers, I guess you'll know more about this than I do. I guess it's like hitters. You start missing the ball, and all of a sudden you can't get it back together. But a lot of times, in my opinion, coaches fall prey to that. They start worrying about their psyche. Well, I think they're just football players. Do you worry about the defensive lineman's psyche? You don't worry about his psyche. You yell and scream and cuss him, right? When he doesn't do well, you yell and scream at him. You don't worry about their psyche, so why would you worry about a kicker's psyche? They have to compete just like everybody else does, and they should be treated the same. Now, that's old theory, because every kicker is like quarterbacks now. every kicker has a kicking guru that's been training them since he was 8 years old. And every quarterback has a quarterback guru that's been training him since he was 8 years old. So he's used to personal attention. And I don't think anybody deserves personal attention.
Well, how come when kickers miss a big kick, they go down to one end of the bench and nobody's talking to them?
Well, I think that when someone throws an interception, I think that nobody talks to the quarterback for a while either. Or if someone gives up a touchdown pass. Now, back in my day when I had to play corner, and I hate to admit this, in Canada I played corner and I got beat for some touchdown passes. Guess what? When I went to the bench, no one talked to me for a while either. I mean, I don't know why that's different.
Oh, they were talking in French. You were talking in English.
There you go.
Hey, I got to ask you, while we're talking about kickers, it kind of jogged my memory a little bit. When you were at New Mexico, you had a female kicker.
Yes, I did.
How did that come about? Well, she was the first female kicker in the country, correct?
She was the first female kicker in Division I to score a point in a game.
How did that come about? Tell us a quick story on that, because it was a big story back then.
It is a very interesting story, and her name's Katie Nida, and we didn't treat her any different either. And I can tell you some wonderful stories. She had to lift weights just like everybody else. She ran just like everybody else. We actually went to a bowl game. We played in Las Vegas, and they didn't have a locker room for her. So the trainers put up the Gatorade, stacked the Gatorade in a corner, stacked the Gatorade boxes in a corner, and made a locker room for her. And I mean, she was just, she wasn't one of the guys, but she was just one of the teammates. And our kicking coach came in to me one day and said, hey, I got a kicker that wants to walk on. And I said, okay, let me look at him. So I looked at him, and he wasn't great, but he made every single extra point, and I think on the film he kicked a 40-yard field goal. And I said, you sure he wants to walk on? He said, yeah, he'll walk on. He'll pay his own way and everything. And I said, well, okay, let him. If he can get in school, let him walk on. And so about 2 days later, he came back and said, well, she got in school. And I said, she? And he said, yeah, that kicker you looked at the other day is a girl. And I said, really? And so she walked on. She had started out in Colorado and didn't do well at Colorado, and some things happened, but she walked on our team, and she kicked. She did everything everybody else did. She kicked in practice. She ran every sprint they ran. She lifted weights every time she was supposed to lift weights. She was treated just like everybody else and handled it really, really well. So we happened to be playing in a game, and we were winning by a lot of points. And so I said, we're not going to try to score. We're going to take a knee. We're going to take a knee. So we took a knee 3 times, and I said, well, should we kick a field goal or take a knee again? And all the players on the sideline started saying, let Katie kick. Let Katie kick. So we sent Katie in, and sure enough, she made it. And then so the rest of the game, we let her kick. Every time it was a kicking situation, we let her kick. And then we actually tried in the bowl game. I asked the seniors on our team, I said, are you all right if Katie kicks the first extra point? And they said, sure. So I went up and told her, and you could have seen, I mean, she was so nervous. I said, hey, if we score a touchdown, you're kicking the first extra point. I mean, she couldn't stand still. I mean, and she was terrible in warm-ups and all that stuff. I just threw her off. I mean, if I'd have just told her to go out there at the time, it would have been much better for her. So we scored, and she went out to kick the extra point because she would have been the first one to ever score in a bowl game and all that, and it got blocked.
Oh.
So, but, I mean, it was a good experience for us that she was on our team.
Wow, that's great stuff. Yeah, I remember, obviously, when you looked at the tape, her ponytail was up under her helmet because she had blonde hair. I remember watching her warm up when I was doing the ball game over there at New Mexico one time. Want to remind everyone, tickets still available for the ball game coming up Saturday. Aztecs welcome in big Fresno State. This will be on national TV. ESPN2 going to kick off at 7:30. It's homecoming for the Aztecs, a showdown for first place in the West Division of the Mountain West Conference. Of course, you can go to goaztecs.com. for tickets, or you can call 619-283-SDSU. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines a little bit, try to get some questions in tonight. Our number in San Diego, 858-457-1090. Our toll-free number, 877-792-1090. Rocky Long, the Aztec Coaches Show, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, taking phone calls in the next segment right here on the Mighty 1090. Grill, John Katera, Coach Rocky Long with you in the 7 o'clock hour. Coach Long out here each and every Wednesday, and also want to remind you about our good friends at Quality First Real Estate, San Diego's top real estate company. They can help you buy, sell, and manage San Diego real estate. When it comes to real estate, it's always quality first. Click qualityfirstrealestate.com. And back here with Coach Long, and we're going to get out to the phones. We're also going to take questions from many of the folks here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill tonight. Hayes in the barn now for you guys. A little walkthrough tomorrow. What do you got going tomorrow before Friday?
No, we practice tomorrow. It won't be very long, and it's only in shells, but we'll practice tomorrow. And Friday will be some walkthroughs. We'll walk through some on Friday. And then since we don't play till 7:30 at night, we'll have a couple walkthroughs Saturday morning too. But most of the heavy work's done. Yeah.
You stay in a hotel, home and road on Friday night, right?
We do, yes, and most teams do that. Not every team does that, but most teams do that, and it's for several reasons. I mean,
I can only imagine.
No, people have the wrong opinion of this now. Most people think that we're staying in a hotel so that our players aren't messing around, okay? And that, in some cases, that's probably true. In a few cases, that's probably true. But in most cases, it's basically get the players away from everybody else. Because if most of them will have family and friends coming to the game, and so Friday night they'll be doing whatever with family, and we would like them to be rested, off their feet, and concentrating on playing on Saturday. And we have really good we have really good people in our program, and they have really good families. And back when I was that age, you can't tell mom, no, I don't want to go to dinner with you. I want to stay here and rest, and I just as soon watch TV and get ready for the game tomorrow. And mom says, no, you're coming with us. You can't say no. But if you say, Mom, I can't go because Coach makes us go to the hotel, so they blame me. And then they can get away from all the distractions and hopefully get rested and ready to play the game.
Does that mean you get to confiscate everybody's cell phone when they enter the hotel that night?
See, now, you're old enough to know this. When I first started coaching, because you wanted kids concentrating on the game, the hotel phone was turned off. And if anybody saw a player go to the payphone and use the payphone, you got furious. Because you're not supposed to be talking to anybody. You're thinking about nothing but the game, right? Right. Well, since cell phones have entered, if we try to take their cell phones away, we would have a mutiny. I mean, they spend the whole time, not talking so much on their cell phone, but they're doing whatever they do on their cell phone. They're watching games. They're playing games. They cannot have their cell phone in meetings. If their cell phones go off in a meeting, they get to run extra like at 5 o'clock in the morning. So every once in a while, someone forgets to turn them off. But no, I wouldn't take their cell phones away. I don't want that problem.
Yeah, just have a lot of meetings on Friday night. That's the way you work it. Hey, let's get out to the phones, and we're going to get to anybody that has questions here. We've got a question right here. Let's get to this gentleman right now. If you would please identify yourself, give us your first name, and go right ahead and ask Coach Long the question.
Hi, Coach. My name is Mackenzie. One of the questions I have, and I've had for a long time, is how can an offense come up to the line of scrimmage, get set, call the cadence out, and try and get you to jump off sides, then step back and look for directions from the bench, and then go back into being set again?
As long as the officials don't deem them purposely trying to pull you off sides with a head bob or a quick motion of a running back or a receiver or something, if a receiver or lineman moves, it's a penalty on the offense. As long as the quarterback only uses his voice to try to pull you off sides, that will be, if you come off sides, that's a penalty on the defense. But I think we had one called the other night where a quarterback will use a quick jerk or a head bob. If that pulls the defense offside, that's a penalty on the offense.
My question was, though, how can they all come set, and then all of a sudden they become not set? Because when I was playing football, you came set, and if you moved at all after the initial the team being set, it was a penalty if you went into motion. Now they all come set. They call the cadence for a couple cadences, and then they all step back and look at the sidelines.
Well, I think what he's talking about is, yeah, if you got your hand down, you can't come out of your stance. But most of these guys now, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're coming up basically with their hands on their thigh pads, and they're not getting into a set stance yet.
That's exactly right, Coach. If they're in a three-point stance, they can't come out of a three-point stance. But as long as they're not in a three-point stance, everybody can move as long as it's not quick movement to try to pull the defense off sides. And what they're trying to do when they do that is they're trying to get you to show where your guys are going, and then someone up in the box looks down to see what you're doing, and then the guy up in the box calls the perfect play.
I have another really quick question, too. On the play in Air Force where he looked like he was pulling the ball back in, and the ball went down, how come that wasn't considered intentional grounding?
Well, the explanation I had on the sideline from the officials was that his hand was coming forward, so it was a forward pass. The ball fell out of his hand, so it was an incomplete pass. Okay? I don't know why it wasn't intentional grounding, because it didn't cross the line of scrimmage, right? And he wasn't out of the box.
Right.
That's a darn good question. I wish you would have been on the sidelines because I could have asked the official that.
Thank you very much.
I thought it was a fumble. I thought it was a fumble is what I thought. I thought it should have been called a fumble. Now, he recovered it, but we would have much rather played 4th and 14 rather than 4th and 8.
Thank you very much for that couple of questions. We're going to get to the bottom of the hour. We'll take a quick timeout. Also want to remind everyone, don't forget the Warrior Walk going to take place at 5:30 this Saturday. Be part of this great tradition when the team walks into Qualcomm Stadium, starting in the E3 F3 parking area and finish at the Aztec Village and parking lot area F1. So be sure to be part of this fan favorite event and cheer on the team as they prepare to take on the Bulldogs Saturday night in this big conference ball game. And again, I would urge you, I want to see this stadium filled up on Saturday night. Go to goaztecs.com, 619-283-SDSU. Like to see 50,000+ show up for this ball game. It's a long-time rival. There have always been great games in this rivalry, and the Aztecs playing great football right now, and they're going against a team that's very well thought of nationally. Be a great opportunity for the Aztec fans, San Diego sports fans, to come out and be a part of hopefully a big upset, and whoever wins this game going to take a big upper hand in the division. So come out again, 7:30 kickoff on Saturday night. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more of your questions for Coach Rocky Long, John Quintero. This is San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Aztecs.
John Quintero, Coach Rocky Long, having a good time on a Wednesday night. Big ball game on Saturday night, 7:30, Qualcomm Stadium. The Fresno State Bulldogs coming in, ranked 17th in the BCS standings this week, 15th in the AP poll, 18th in the USA Today coaches poll. But the Aztecs sitting at 3-3 right now, won 3 straight. They're 2-0 in Mountain West Conference play, and the Aztecs will go at them on Saturday night. Should be a very exciting football game. And also, I want to remind everyone, each and every Wednesday we're out here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. They also have one in Rancho San Diego, and both of them are absolutely fantastic. Award-winning food, great draft and bottled beer selections, fantastic happy hour specials. This place is a big happy hour place, I can tell you that. Click Hoolies.com for directions and more. Hoolies, the official host location of the Rocky Long Show each and every Wednesday night. Let's get out to the phones now. We had a gentleman here a moment ago ask us a question. Let's get out to Harris in Los Angeles. You're on with John Quintero and Coach Rocky Long. Harris, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Coach. Good evening, Coach Quintero, and good evening, Coach.
Good evening. Yes.
Rocky Long. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I remember the days when you and Coach Solido were members of my Bruins, and there were some really good times that you guys had over there. My question to you is, San Diego State had a brutal non-conference schedule. What did you learn from those games which you lost that would prepare you to face the likes of Fresno State? Now, I take the answer off the air.
All right, Harris, thank you very much.
I think that's a good question. I hope everybody heard it. That he said that we had a brutal preseason schedule, and I think we played some awful good teams early in the season. My wife told me that on the radio she heard that the teams that we lost to, the 3 teams that we lost to, at this time in the season are 19-2. Ohio State, they're undefeated. Oregon State lost 1 game, their first game of the year. And Eastern Illinois lost only 1 game to Northern Illinois, who's ranked in the top 25.
And they were leading in that game.
And they should have won that game. So the teams that we lost to are 19-2. So the teams that we lost to were darn good football teams. And so we've played against quality opponents. We're getting ready to play against another quality opponent, so it shouldn't be new to us because we've been in that arena. We've played against those kind of teams. So we shouldn't have any stage fright, or we shouldn't have any butterflies about playing against a great football team that we're going to play against. And so I think that those games have helped us prepare for this kind of game.
You know, I don't want to make this David versus Goliath, but when you look at some of the stats that Fresno State's putting up right now, they've won 11 straight regular season games. They've scored 40 or more points in 10 of their last 11 ball games. And let's start talking about their head coach, Tim DeRuyter, in his second year coming in and really done an outstanding job. And it sounds like he's put together a pretty good coaching staff up there.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. I mean, it's interesting that they're that good on offense since he's a defensive coach. I mean, as he came up through the ranks, he was a defensive coach at Air Force. He was the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M before he got the Fresno State job. I mean, he's obviously got some very, very good players, and he's coaching them very, very well. He's putting them in the right situation to be successful, and they're responding at a great pace. I mean, I didn't realize they'd won 11 straight games. Someone told me the other day that we had won 9 straight conference games. So I didn't know that either, because the only thing that really matters to either one of us is the game on Saturday night. But he's doing a great job. He's got a great coaching staff, and he's got really good players. And if you have good coaches and good players, you have a good football team.
Let's talk about their starting quarterback, Derek Carr, the younger brother of David Carr, former number 1 overall pick way back when with the Houston Texans. This guy, he's been on fire.
Yeah, he's really good. I was hoping he would come out early, and Coach DeRuyter got on me because last year I thought the kid was a senior. And I started talking about, someone asked me if he was a pro, and I said, yeah, he's a pro. He's going to go in the top 3 rounds. I know he's going to do well in the NFL. And before the game last year, he said, hey, would you stop talking about my quarterback leaving because I want him to stay another year. Well, that was good for Coach DeRuyter, but it wasn't good for the rest of us that he did stay for another year. I never actually was on with a team that played against his older brother. But I have watched his older brother play on film. This is my humble opinion, and I don't want to start a fight in their family, but Derek's better than David. He seems to be more calm in the pocket. He seems to read defenses just as well. He has just as good an arm, and I think he has a better touch on the long ball. Now, that's just my opinion. And I hope that it doesn't start a fight between the two of them. But it's just too bad that we have to play against them, because last year I thought we had a really good plan going in. I thought we had a plan that confused them a little bit early, and we played pretty well and got ahead. Once he figured out what we were doing, we could not stop a play. I mean, we couldn't stop a pass, we couldn't stop a run, and they outscored us dramatically the last 3/4 of the game. We did pretty well in the first quarter, and they really got after us in the last three quarters. And I don't remember the score, but it was a lot to not very many, as most of their games are. And we're going to have to play. We're going to have to play very, very well on both sides of the ball. We're going to have to play well on offense and keep the ball away from them. We're going to have to keep their points to a minimum on defense. I don't think you're going to slow them down. I don't think you're going to stop them from having big yards, because they have big yards against everybody. What you hope to do is slow them down so they don't score so many points that you don't have a chance to win.
His strength as a quarterback, good arm. How about mobility? Is he a guy that likes to sit in the pocket? Do they like to roll him right, roll him left? Kind of what have you seen on tape?
He's the worst kind of quarterback because he wants to sit there and throw the ball. He doesn't want to run, and he doesn't want to move around too much. But if you make him, he's really good at it, and he can get out of trouble. He can slide. If he feels pressure from one side of the pocket, he can slide over to the other side of the pocket and never lose control. He never loses any kind of control, and he throws the ball on target. If you make him scramble, if you get him out of the pocket, he's just as dangerous. He has good speed. He's just as dangerous running with the ball. Even though he doesn't really want to, he's just as dangerous running with the ball as any other, zone read quarterback is. And they do run a little bit of zone read, and every once in a while he keeps it when you close down, and he gains big yards. He does not want to run with it, but he can if he has to.
And he's got three pretty talented wide receivers. This one sophomore, Devontae Adams, been on a roll 2 weeks in a row. He's been the Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Week, and they also got a tight end that's on the John Mackey Award watch list. So he got some weapons. He's just not back there doing it by himself.
No, I mean, every good quarterback makes receivers better, but their receivers make him look better too. I mean, there are times when he has to get rid of the ball before he wants to. And there are times, as you watch film, there are times that he throws it into coverage. Most of the time, they come out smelling like a rose because the receivers go and get the ball. Even though he's thrown into coverage, the receivers go and get the ball. Adams has had an unbelievable 2 weeks. They have, out of the top 9 receivers in our league, all 3 of their wide receivers are in the top 9 for yardage, catches, touchdowns, whatever you want to say. They've done it all.
Well, we'll see what happens on Saturday night. It's going to be a nice little chess match, I think, between the Fresno State offense and the San Diego State defense. Also, before we get to our final break and come back with our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week, I want to remind everyone, if you're interested, this is a good time right now. If you're interested in buying, selling, or leasing a commercial property, Quality First Commercial is a full-service commercial real estate firm. You can visit their website, qualityfirstcommercial.com. QFC is here for all your commercial real estate needs. We'll come back one final segment tonight with Coach Rocky Long live at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. This is San Diego sports leader, the mighty 1090.
Hi, this is head coach Rocky.
Here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, John Quintero, Coach Rocky Long. Before we get into talking about the non-conference schedule for next year, I want to get to our California Bank and Trust Athlete of the Week. And once again, California Bank and Trust, very proud to recognize San Diego State's outstanding student athletes. This week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week is men's soccer player Abraham Villon. The senior midfielder, Abraham Villon, scored a goal in the 67th minute to lead the Aztecs men's soccer team to a big road victory over Oregon State, 1-0 last Sunday. Villon made moves past 2 Oregon State defenders and scored from the top of the box for her 6th goal of the year. Villon leads the Aztecs with 17 points as they entered the week ranked first in the Pac-12 conference in points per match and tied for third in both goals and goals per match. Villon, a senior midfielder, originally from Garden Grove, California, is a 2011 All Pac-12 second-team selection and a competitor for the U.S. national team for 4 consecutive years. Villon is majoring in social science. Once again, congratulations to Abraham Villon, this week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. Job well done right there. Been out to the sports deck to watch any soccer, either on the male side or female side?
I go up and watch a little bit when both of them play. Yeah. And the women are awful good, and the men have played really good teams really, really close. And when they play the Stanfords and the UCLAs, they play them right to the end and haven't been able to get over the hump yet, but they will sooner or later.
Hey, we got a couple of minutes left here, and I wanted to get your thoughts. It was announced earlier this week you guys picked up a couple of other non-conference games. You'd already had 2 in place, one on September 6th at North Carolina. The other was on September 20th at Oregon State, and hopefully Sean Mannion and his crew have graduated by then. But you picked up 2 this week. You got Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks are going to come in on August 30th at Qualcomm, and you also added Idaho on November 8th at Qualcomm Stadium. And, I look at it, I think a fairly balanced non-conference schedule.
I think it's balanced, and it's probably what places in our financial situation need to do. I mean, we need to play some of the upper echelon teams for a couple reasons. To see where we stack up, because our effort is to get at their level. At some point, sometime, is to get at their level so we can play against those teams and win and get into some BCS bowl games and that sort of thing. So you have to play some of them to prove that you belong, and you always strive to play at their level. But everybody in preseason, the other advantage is you might get some financial benefits from playing people like that help your entire program and the athletic department as well as the football team. The other thing about preseason is you have to play people that give you a chance to develop your team. At times when you play the Ohio States of the world, that doesn't necessarily add to the development of your team because of several different reasons. Maybe a skill level's a little bit different. Maybe some injuries happen that wouldn't normally happen. But so you have to balance it. At a place like San Diego State, you have to balance your schedule so you have some games where you can develop your team for the conference record, and you have some games where you can compare yourself and compete against what are supposed to be the best to see where you stack up.
I take a look at it, and you watch, especially early in the year, you watch some of these scores come across the scroll on Saturday, and you're saying, why are they playing that team? Well, they're playing because that team wants to field a team, and they need a payday. It's that simple.
The payday is part of it. Sure it is. The payday is part of it. But everybody, no matter where you're coaching, everybody strives to be one of the best. And if you don't ever play the best, you don't know where you stand up against the best. And so you have to play some of those teams every single year to see if you're making progress, if you're getting better. And every once in a while, you'll have a good enough team that you'll go beat one of them and say, guess what? As long as we stay healthy, we're going to have a great football team this year. But you have to play them for several reasons. One of them is financial. The other reason is to see where you stack up.
And I think that's great. Now, I know when you sometimes play, maybe Ohio State or Michigan, you worry about, losing a few guys to the following week when you're playing maybe an Idaho or Northern Arizona. You're not going to be without some of your guys. And, I've always looked at the Aztecs non-conference schedule as pretty challenging more times than not. You just want to come out of those games healthy. And the other game you always worry about coming out healthy is when Fisher DeBerry was at Air Force. A lot of guys had come out with ankle injuries.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And here lately, we seem to be playing a lot of wishbone teams. I mean, we've played Navy once, we played Army twice, and we play Air Force every year. And it's an interesting dilemma because you want to play them, but the offense is so completely different than what you see from week to week to week. And they cut block, and very few people cut block anymore. But Air Force and wishbone teams always cut block, so you always hope you come out of those games healthy.
Coach, great job. Best of luck on Saturday night.
Thanks.
I think it's going to be a wild and woolly ball game. There are going to be some points scored on both teams, and like I was mentioning last night on the talk show, and like I mentioned, we had Coach Toledo on. It may come down to who has the ball last, and it may come down to one of your field goal guys putting one through the uprights.
Yeah, well, after the competition the last 2 weeks, I have great confidence they'll make it if it's the game winner.
That's great. Let's have a nice hand for Coach Rocky Long out here at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. Great hour talking Aztec football. We certainly appreciate Coach Long and his lovely wife, Debbie, coming out each and every week. And again, tickets on sale. You can go to goaztecs.com or you can call 619-283-SDSU. Now, I don't normally tell people to buy tickets, but I will tell you this. This is going to be a fun game, and you're not going to have to go to an ATM machine to have enough money to buy tickets. The Aztec tickets are very cheap. You pay for parking, you come in, and you have a grand old time. And I expect a lot of high school athletes, high school coaches might want to take this one in on Saturday night. Again, go to goaztecs.com or call the Aztec ticket office at 619-283-SDSU. We'll get to the top of the hour. Justin Kranz will get you an update. When we come back, I'm going to be hanging in here at Hooley's for another hour. We're going to have the radio play-by-play voice of the Fresno State Bulldogs on. Paul Leffler going to kick it off here.